That is Foxy Lady from The Cure. You're listening to Eclectic Avenue, and this is 101.5 FM. On the line is a man called Jack, and Jack is part of the Brisbane Underground Film Festival. G'day, Jack. How you going, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very good, and quite excited to learn a little bit more about your festival that's being held in Brisbane, I think next week or the week after?
Yeah, it's weekend after next, isn't it? The 2nd and 3rd and 4th.
Yeah, which is down at the Powerhouse Museum, so yeah, it should be quite good. First off, I would like to find out, though, what is an underground film? Is it the same as an independent film, or is it different? There's a lot of grey water just there.
Oh, that's $1 million question. I guess an underground film, in my definition of it, is a film that would be independently produced, independently financed. It wouldn't really be about necessarily about money or spectacle. It's like a film made by an artist, maybe, a film made by a little group of artists, trying to get express their own ideas and so on, often shot the cheapest way possible. In terms of distribution, they're normally distributed via like small festivals like Brisbane Underground or Sydney Underground. So it's very much like it comes from that kind of counterculture, I guess, of the 50s, 1950s, and it's kept on growing since. But it crosses over into indie film a bit, just to confuse everything.
I guess you're always able to have that crossover, and that's what makes, I think, film in general quite great. I actually got, about a year ago now, I started getting into John Walters and his films, and especially his earlier films like Mondo Trash Show and the Pink Flamingos and stuff like that. Would I be fair enough to saying that's underground film?
John Walters is a really interesting case, because he definitely started off as an underground filmmaker. But I mean, he crossed over. I mean, in the 1970s, there's this whole change where you had the eruption of the midnight movie. So films like Pink Flamingos were very much like midnight movies, and very much, they'd be screened at midnight. And I mean, I think Pink Flamingos screened one cinema for something like 15 years, every Saturday night. And the thing is you have to remember that people didn't have video then, so people went to the cinema. They couldn't watch it on TV, they couldn't go rent it or download it or whatever. So you had a late night cinema culture, and people like John Walters stepped from the underground into that midnight circuit. And they had very much an underground attitude and an underground aesthetic, but because they were making feature films and they were making stuff that was very narratively based, they were able to cross over and get an audience. And obviously the John Walters went on into what we now call indie film, with stuff like Hairspray and so on.
Crybaby and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
So with the Underground Film Festival that's coming up, how did you collect the films, or whoever collected the films, to be in the festival themselves?
Well, I guess the film is run by Nina, and she called me in to program one session, and just off and on throughout the year we chatted about movies. So most of the films are her choice. I mean, films like The Colour Wheel is obviously, it was voted like the most important movie of last year to not have received distribution. So I mean, it's like, and that's very much the kind of, I guess, for want of a better phrase, the new kind of John Walters people, the new top level underground / cult / indie filmmakers. And likewise, Zero Killed, that's screening on Saturday the 3rd, is very similar. It's done the indie festival circuit. But the stuff that I'm programming is a bunch of retrospective films on Friday the 2nd at 9 o'clock. It's a session called You Are What You Eat. So it's all kind of disgusting films about eating, and like exploitation horror film kind of stuff. And it's a lot of fun, a lot of kind of post John Walters kind of gross out stuff that I'm screening.
And what about something who's sort of quite big at the moment, actually, like Tim and Eric and their film The Comedy?
Yeah, It's interesting you mentioned that. I actually have to say I haven't seen that. That's one that's come from the festival, not from me. So I'm really intrigued to see that myself.
Yeah.
So, I think that's going to be great. I mean, that's on Thursday the 1st. So obviously that Thursday the 1st is the opening night. So there's the colour wheel that I just mentioned, and that's followed by the comedy. And I think that's, both of those are going to go off big time. I think there's two really interesting examples of that shift from underground to cult movies.
Well, it'd be good, like people knowing Tim and Eric have a movie there. It might bring people along, and then they get to experience, if they hang around, to see some of these other fantastic films that are out there.
Yeah, I mean, that's whenever I'm working, curating a film festival or helping people out or whatever, I mean, that's always my advice, is that you should go along for something that looks a bit familiar, but you should also take a bit of a risk and see something that looks totally odd and off the wall, because you're going to see something good. And it's stuff that isn't really likely to screen in cinemas again, or at the Powerhouse. It's not something that's going to be readily available on, DVD or Blu-ray in the near future.
What?
Yeah, they might end up on the nether regions of TV in 5 years' time, but the place to see movies is always at a festival and always with a big crowd, because the crowd, you get a lot of atmosphere from the crowd. Like if it's a funny film, they're laughing. If it's a horror film, they're screaming, whatever. And I think you need that, the kind of communal aspect of cinema is really important.
Yeah, and like when you go to a restaurant, you don't usually order something that you could make at home. So, get out there and see something a little bit different, because you'd be quite surprised.
Exactly, yeah, that's exactly right. That's a really good analogy.
I do have to ask about Showgirls 2, Pennies from Heaven, and I don't want to make...
I can't talk about that because I don't know anything about that. Not one I've programmed. I've only done that one session and advised on a couple of others. So I'm really intrigued by that one too.
It's quite interesting that they actually, one, made a Showgirls 2, and secondly, to see what it's about. One of my favourite lines in film history is from a Wes Craven horror movie, Scream, where the bloke answers, like, what's your favourite scary movie? And he goes, Showgirls. And so it always makes me laugh when I think of Showgirls.
Yeah, well, I mean, you see, Showgirls is a really interesting film to me, because it's very much like a mainstream movie, but it flops as a mainstream movie, But in terms of, you see it now with a crowd, and people just love it, it's crossed over into that kind of camp rereading of it, where audiences, love it because it's so funny, and I think if you watch Showgirls by yourself at home, I don't know, it's not so great, but you watch it with a big crowd of people laughing and cheering, I think it works really well, So, I was intrigued about Showgirls 2 myself, I have to say. So I'm actually looking forward to watching that, because I've got no idea what it's going to be like at all. So I'm really intrigued. But, I mean, the festival, Nina, who runs the festival, is really, programmed a lot of, really interesting stuff, and she's just called upon me to do that retrospective session, really.
Oh.
So that's the only thing I can lay 100% claim to. The rest of it is her own kind of research and hard work. And as I say, films like The Colour Wheel and the comedy are doing the festival circuit, and they're great movies. But stuff like Showgirls 2, I've got no idea what that's going to be like. So I'm intrigued what that's going to be like myself.
Hey, a little bit off the track of the festival, actor called Crispin Glover, who we all know from Back to the Future and other sort of films like that. He's become a fairly well underground filmmaker, or in that sort of genre. Do you know much about him?
Yeah, I brought him over to Australia earlier in the year.
Oh, wow.
So I did some screenings with him in Perth, and then he went off and did screenings in Melbourne and Sydney.
He seems like a really interesting bloke, and has a real sort of different but cool outlook on filmmaking.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think Crispin Glover's really in a kind of a different realm, because he's got this mainstream career, but his own films are very much artist films, and they're very much in the vein of people like David Lynch or Jodorowsky, just kind of great visionary filmmakers, and I think he's very much in that tradition. But what he does when he does his shows is he does like an hour-long performance where he reads some beautiful books he's made, then he screens the film, and then he does a Q&A with the audience, and he personally talks to everyone in the audience who wants to talk to him. So the whole experience of him is just phenomenal. He was put so much work into it, and it's beautiful stuff he's doing.
Yeah, we need more people out there like him, pushing film.
I think there are people out there like that, and obviously not quite so well known. But it's trying to, and the reason that something like Buff is so important is that they act as a way in which these people, maybe not so famous, but can get their films out there and get heard and so on. And I think that's why these things matter, because next the Crispin Glovers of the future or whatever could be screening at these festivals. I think it's really important.
Before we wrap everything up, I'd just like to find out from you your favourite film of the festival, but I also want to find out who you like away from the festival. What film and maybe what filmmaker you also like.
Okay, in the festival, I got to pimp my own session. The stuff I'm screening a very funny film called We Await, about a kind of family / cult who eat psychedelic funguses and get possessed and go mad, which is hilarious and entertaining. Outside the festival, films I like, I'm just trying to think. I'm a big fan of Gummo, Harmony Korine film. I always think she's always good to watch.
Yeah, I'm a big Korine film fan.
I like David Lynch a lot. I like Eraserhead, it's a beautiful film. John Waters, Pink Flamingos, I think it's a great film. In terms of more kind of multiplex stuff, that's a little harder. Big mainstream films that I like, there seems to be less and less of them. So it's harder for me to say on that level.
No, that's cool.
Unfortunately.
If we can't make it to the festival, or if we do make it to the festival and want to keep on watching underground films, is there anywhere where we can go to either buy them, to watch them? Is YouTube a good place to try to sort out these sort of films?
There's always people putting the stuff online, but I think you need to see it with an audience. You need to see it, as part of a community. And I think that's the most important thing. So I think the thing to do is, audiences should go along to festivals like Buff, because they get to meet other locals, and there'll be people there who are doing small screenings in bars or whatever. That there's communities all around Australia of film fans who do little screenings and so on. And I think that's the best way to watch it. And also, because a lot of the films, they might be a bit unusual or a bit challenging or a bit experimental or whatever. And sometimes seeing that stuff with an audience in a kind of curated context helps, if they seem like odd, you don't really know what's going on or whatever. I think that helps people understand it better and relate to the work,
Oh, excellent. Where can we find you online if we want to look up either about Buff or anything else that you might be involved with?
I knew you were going to ask me that, and I just can't find their website.
Well,
Facebook. Everything's on Facebook.
Everything's
now.
on Facebook.
Yeah, it's all on Facebook. Yeah. So the whole event is on Facebook. It's the 1st to the 3rd of November at the Powerhouse.
Just type in. I was going to say, just type in Brisbane Underground Film Festival either in Google or Facebook, and you'll find yours.
Yeah, and on Facebook, obviously, it's got links to the films and so on as well. But the films are on at 7 and 9 each night, so everything's only screening once. So I think get along and see something, because I think people are going to really enjoy it. And also, of course, you can buy tickets in advance on the Powerhouse website, and that's brisbanepowerhouse.org.
Alrighty, well, we better wrap this up. Tonight on Eclectic Avenue, we're actually doing a cover night, as in we're just playing covers of different songs. We just played, before we talked to you, a song from The Cure off their very first album, where they did Jimi Hendrix' song Foxy Lady. And we've got some other really good ones coming up. Now, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Do you have a favourite cover version of a song?
Yeah. Okay. The Carnival is Over, Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds.
What was that, sorry?
The Carnival Is Over by Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds.
Good choice, good choice.
So, from Kicking Against the Pricks.
Yes, which is a full cover album, that album, and a very good album indeed. All right, thank you very much, mate. Really hope the festival goes well for you, and yeah, keep on bringing festivals like that to Brisbane, because we are really interested in what you're doing.
Yeah, come along.
Excellent. Thank you, mate. Talk to you soon.
Take care. Thanks.